Hey, Action Shelf listeners, before we jump into the show itself, we want to tell you about how you can get even more action in your life.
Mm.
That appeals to you,
More
listeners.
action. More action, you
More
say,
action, you
John.
say. Yes. If you go over to our Podbean patron page, that's patron.podbean.com/punchup. You can listen to Listman and I watch, what's this? Good action movies.
Good action movies, you say?
That's right, a change of pace. We thought behind the paywall, let's give people something of quality. So
And give us something of quality.
I know it's such a pleasure to do that. So twice a month, you and I will be doing commentary tracks that you can download for
Yes.
good action movies, all kinds of awesome stuff from a lot of our heroes like John Woo. And we've done stuff from the John Wick franchise and Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all the guys we never get to talk about on here.
Yeah, stuff we legitimately love and love to share with you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can listen to that as well as other cool exclusive content from the Punch Up Entertainment Network shows. Once again, the address for that is patron.podbean.com/punchup. And now, into the action.
The Action Show. The Action Show. The Action Show. The Action Show.
Welcome to the Action Shelf. The podcast celebrates the glory of B action movies. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Michael Listman.
Oh, Listman, we wrap up Norris November this week. It's been our month-long tribute to the legendary Chuck Norris, and
What a month.
What a month!
What a great month.
Yeah,
Like, honestly.
Aside from the clunker at the beginning, I think we've enjoyed these movies. And honestly, we had some scheduling stuff shift around and some availability of movies. My God, though, this worked out because I am so glad we are finishing with this movie.
Me too. Me too.
We
I feel like every movie has gotten progressively better.
Yes,
like, as we've gone through the month.
which I think worked out because we were going to do something much stupider for the last one here. But instead, we decided, if we can't do an incredibly stupid movie, let's finish with what people can generally consider, and according to the trivia, what the man himself considers his best movie.
It's good that he recognizes that because it is. I mean, this is a great movie. This is like,
really good. This is a
I
really
don't
good movie.
have a lot of criticisms about this movie. I mean, there's some silly stuff in it.
Sure. I mean, it's still a movie from 1985. But this is 1985's Code of Silence.
Yes.
I don't think I don't know if I've actually seen this movie. If I have, it was years and years ago on like Cinemax or something like that because I watched a lot of this kind of stuff. But it didn't ring anything particularly here, but I was consistently and pleasantly surprised throughout this whole movie at its quality. And it went to, and it's interesting, especially compared to last week's movie, The Hitman. I feel like it's like, wow, this is what it looks like when you have a good director, a smart script, a good supporting cast. Like, and I just kept watching this going like, it's both, it's so great to watch and also going like, why didn't he make more things of this quality? Because he pretty quickly backslides into some garbage.
Yeah.
This is easily the best Chuck Norris movie.
I mean, yeah, it's the best one I've ever seen, and I guess it doesn't get much better than this. I mean,
the same year he makes this movie, he puts out Invasion USA, which is fun but so fucking stupid.
So stupid. Yeah, Invasion USA. I mean, there wasn't probably a great script to begin with,
Right.
but then they cut out all the dialogue.
Well,
So, like,
this also is like, I mean, it's weird because we talked up how much like, oh man, we love him in the Cannon movies, but here he is going over to Orion, which I always thought of as a little bit better than Cannon as a studio.
Yes,
and
a little less schlocky, I think.
I think so. I mean, they still made genre pictures, but I feel like they got better directors. They worked on the scripts a little bit harder. And boy, it just makes me go, boy, if he had just gotten out of Cannon and also stopped having his brother direct everything, because so much of this movie I think is owed to director Andrew Davis.
Yes.
Who we love, because Andrew Davis directed this and directed what I think what we would both consider like one of the best action movies ever, which is The Fugitive.
Yeah.
That is definitely Harrison Ford's best non-Star Wars, non-Indiana Jones movie, I think.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I would agree with that.
This is Davis's first action movie. He had done a horror film before this called The Final Terror, but then this movie kind of defines the rest of his career because he'll do Above the Law with Steven Seagal. And that's what that's the other thing I thought is if he had just stayed with Chuck instead of going into Seagal. Oh my God, could you imagine? Could you imagine Under Siege with Chuck Norris?
I wish that was
keep everything the same, but put Chuck Norris. That movie would be so much better. And that movie is already pretty good because of Davis and the supporting cast. But Chuck
Tommy
Seagal,
Lee Jones,
Tommy Lee Jones. He gets what I love is he makes a movie. He makes Above the Law after this. Then he makes a movie called The Package, which is a pretty good spy thriller with Gene Hackman and Tommy Lee Jones. And then he just keep using Tommy Lee Jones and Under Siege and The Fugitive. Like once he gets Tommy Lee Jones, he's all in on that guy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
great actor.
Absolutely. So, and weirdly, I was looking through it. He hasn't directed a movie since 2006, which is kind of a bummer. The Guardian wasn't a great movie. The Kevin Costner, Ashton Kutcher Coast Guard movie.
Don't remember that. Oh, I do remember that.
It's pretty. It's not bad, but it's pretty forgettable, like action film. I wish he would direct something again. He's got some stuff upcoming, I guess. But I was weirdly looking. The thing that stood out is he directed the Disney movie Holes. Do you remember that movie?
I do remember that.
Yeah. That's an interesting kind of like kids adventure movie. But I remember that being pretty okay.
It was pretty good. Yeah, I think it captured the essence of the book pretty well. You know.
But Andrew Davis, man, the other thing that this has that none of the other movies have had is a real sense of place.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is Andrew Davis is working in his hometown of Chicago. So you've got a Chicago filmmaker shooting in Chicago. Fugitive is also set and shot in Chicago as well. So you've got a guy who really knows the city, and also he doesn't have a huge part in the movie, but he's there, and the biggest atmosphere, and I think the quiet MVP of this is Dennis Farina.
Which
he's Chuck's partner. He's Chuck's partner.
Guy. Yes.
Great character actor who at this time was only a part-time actor and was actually a Chicago police detective.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he was a Chicago police detective who became an actor, but at this point he's doing both. So he feels really real in that sense. He feels Chicago. He was a Michael Mann discovery. Because of course Michael Mann was, but this to me, the thing about this movie, the biggest surprise to me was it is an action movie, but it's a crime movie. It almost feels closer to Michael Mann or something like that. It still verges into action territory.
Sure, there's definitely some roundhouse kicks that happen in this movie.
Well, and I don't know, did you look up anything about the background of this movie?
No, I didn't.
Well, I think this made a lot of sense to me after I watched it and I read this. This was originally written as the fourth Dirty Harry film.
Oh, yes, that makes perfect sense.
It was the script was originally Dirty Harry 4: Code of Silence. Because the guys who wrote this had written Pale Rider for Clint. That's another thing too. Good screenwriters, Michael Butler and James Chirac.
There's so many little moments that you don't see in a lot of these movies. Just so many like script and honestly directing moments that like it gives you little character like insights into the side characters. It gives you insight into the world that they're in. It's just that kind of world building that doesn't exist in any of these other movies, like canon movies.
That's kind of what I was thinking as I was watching. I'm going, this isn't reinventing the wheel. This isn't some brand new. This is a pretty standard plot.
Yes.
But it's just, it's all in execution. And that's the thing, is like most action movies are like about a cop fighting crime or a spy trying to stop a weapon or something like that.
Right.
It really is mostly about execution. It's not like there are that many action plots, but it is, this is just a little smarter, a little more detailed, a little better made. And I think Chuck is pretty good in it.
He is. Like, obviously he's still a little flat, but part of it is that the character works for his range.
Yeah.
But he even does stretch a little bit in this movie. Like, there's some moments that are legitimately authentic that he delivers.
This is the first time I've actually felt like he's playing a character. Now, it's not like a wildly different character than the standard Chuck persona, but there's something here. This guy feels a little more real. And some of that's coming from the script. Some of that's coming from Davis. I think that's what I'm talking about. Like, I think if he had kept working with more real directors, people might have pushed him to get better, kind of like Van Damme does, right?
Yes.
But continuing to work with Cannon and Aaron Norris, I think, was easy, right? And didn't ask much of him.
Easy money, yeah.
Which is so weird that he thinks that he considers this his favorite, but he kind of never replicates this scenario ever again. And then, of course, eventually,
well, maybe the director didn't necessarily want him back. I don't know. Like, maybe it wasn't up to Chuck.
Yeah, I know, but it's just interesting. He never sought out anybody else, really. It became, that. So it's interesting. But I also think it really bummed me out. I love this movie, but it kind of bummed me out because the fourth Dirty Harry's the worst one, Sudden Impact.
Yeah.
This would have been a way better Dirty Harry movie with this plot.
Yes, but I like that it was more of a Chuck Norris movie. You know what I mean? Well, I think that did elevate it. I love a good fist fight. I love a good martial arts scene. This movie has several. So,
I know, and that's the thing. When it started, I did think like, oh, well, maybe this one won't have as much of that, and they still find places to deliver it, and they make it make enough sense. We understand this guy knows martial arts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it never felt like some of the martial arts movies we watch where it's like, all right, now's the excuse for the fight scene. The fight scenes come pretty naturally.
Yes. And there's not the thing where all villains don't have guns,
right?
Inexplicably.
And also Chuck uses guns when it's appropriate, but his fists and feet when it's also... I really can't stress how much I enjoyed this movie. I think this is the best movie we've ever watched on this show, period.
I agree. Yes.
And so I almost feel like that it's an unfair shelfies at the end of this year, because I can't imagine in the last few weeks we're going to see anything better than Code of Silence.
True, but that's okay. We can award a film for being legitimately great. You know? Don't
bet too hard on any of these other movies, folks.
Right, exactly. There's been some decent movies this year.
There have been. This is
going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard to surpass
I do have
movie.
the budget for this movie, Listman, if you want to take your best guess. This is a 1985 film.
1985. There's some money on screen. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like $15 million.
Oh, wow. Actually, only 7.
Only 7?
Mm-hmm.
This movie looks good for $7 million.
This movie does,
like, honestly.
And that's like some money in this era.
Yeah, not huge,
but that's not like that's not like a studio's big movie. I mean, Orion never made big budget movies, really. They made, I mean, the Orion's, well, I mean, I'm looking through their movies here. Their big hits were like Terminator and First Blood. So I mean, action stuff. They also made some Academy Award winning stuff though, like Platoon and Silence of the Lambs, and like I said, Dances with Wolves was them. Caddyshack. Not that that's an Academy Award winner. The Substitute, which is stupid, but did have a higher polish on it than a lot of the canon stuff.
Yes.
So I mean, I do think No Way Out's a really good Kevin Costner spy movie. I do think they generally they did the Bill and Ted franchise as well.
Excellent.
I do think they made and so this cost $7. It pulled in 20.3 worldwide, which is really good at this time. This was a big hit. Because obviously it launched Andrew Davis as becoming kind of the action guy for a while there. But let's talk about this movie. Let's dive into the plot here. I like even the beginning of the movie. I love the score. It's very 80s.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, a lot of electric drums, a lot of saxophone, jazzy sax.
It's got that vibe that like Lethal Weapon will have and stuff with these sort of like modern noir cop movies.
Yeah, and I think that we've seen this type of opening in a lot of action shelf movies. They're undercover, it's a drug bust or something, and something goes wrong. Like, that's so fucking common.
It is, and this speaks to, once again, what this movie is. We've seen this before, but just how well constructed this one is.
Yes. They make a really good job of... It really felt like a more legitimate, like it was actually a drug bust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it actually felt like it did actually feel like that there was actual tension being built with like the assassins, in painters' uniforms,
and the way that he keeps cutting between the Chuck and Dennis Farina and the cops outside, and Chuck and Dennis Farina pretended to be garbage guy. And so they're collecting. They're in a garbage truck. And then you've got the deal happening inside. And then, this third entity, that are these guys in painters' uniforms who are pulling out machine guns and loading them. And you just keep cutting back and forth. And a very rare occurrence on these action show movies. I felt real tension.
Yes. And they did a good job of establishing where this is.
Yes.
So this is clearly a very Hispanic neighborhood. And so there's a lot of like, even just in like the audio, you hear the sound of like children playing nearby. Like this is where people live.
Yeah.
And that will become very important for what happens in this sequence.
Well, because that's the interesting thing about the sequence. So of course, these assassin guys in painters' uniforms. And I also like even the intelligence of the script going like, hey, wait, that building's gonna get torn down. Why would people be painting? Oh, fuck, there's a problem here. That Chuck is playing a good cop. Like he's good at his job. And it turns into a shootout, but it's not a cannon shootout. It feels like even though guys are firing machine guns, they're not just blasting away from the hip. They're targeting this. And then this way that they shoot from across the building and then run across this platform. This is all this is good crime stuff.
And that's also like stuff that painters would have too, which is interesting. Yeah. It's very clever. Yeah,
it is. And then it turns into the shootout. I did think Dirty Harry when Chuck pulls out his big revolver and blows a guy away on the street here.
Yes.
But here's the thing, and I wonder, I don't know, because I was trying to think, what about this script made Clint Eastwood reject it as a Dirty Harry script?
I don't know. So that's why it didn't get made.
It was Clint just Eastwood that they wrote it for Clint, and he went, "Nah, not interested." Which is interesting because Sudden Impact is pretty bad, really.
Pretty bad. When did Sudden Impact come out? Like after this, I assume.
I think, it was either let's see. I want to say it was maybe the next year, or
it might not have had anything to do with the script. It could have just been where Clint was at the time.
Oh no, wait. Sudden Impact was well before this, so this script was sitting around because these guys wrote this in '79 as a Dirty Harry movie. So they polished this off, and '83 was Sudden Impact.
Okay.
Now that movie made $150 million at the box office, so I guess who am I to question anything? But
it's a franchise, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it's just that one was always the weakest one. And the other thing that bums me out about that one is Clint. That's the only one Clint directed of the Dirty Harry movies.
Yeah,
and it's a little like
that is a shame.
Yeah, that's because it's
especially considering how prolific and like acclaimed he is as a director.
Yeah, and these guys had already written Pale Rider and The Gauntlet for him, so they were guys who had written stuff for him. So
I don't know. I mean, maybe it was too similar to Magnum Force, like something about like police being corrupt and
that's kind of what
or...
I was getting at with this next scene, because the thing that's really interesting, and the movie's called Code of Silence, and what I like built into the themes of the movie is this idea that the cops and criminals both look out for each other in this code of silence way. And it's I mean, I'm not here to say this is like an incredible, it's not like a Sidney Lumet film that's really about police corruption, but it's about that way more than most of the other cop movies of this time.
Did this movie feel like what The Hitman was attempting to be?
It did, and I kept saying that. I kept thinking that because I kept going like, "Ooh, this also has a warehouse shootout, but it's better. This also is Chuck versus the mob, but it's better. This, you know, because his character is better in this, and the world he's in feels more real. Even though at the end of this movie there's a fucking armored remote thing, but for some reason the movie does a good enough job establishing that it actually makes you go, okay.
So, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Yeah. It's still hilarious. It was so silly. But I loved every moment of it.
Because they still know what that Chuck audience is paying to see. But it's sort of like, we can give you the vegetables too, right? Like, we can still talk about police corruption if we also blow up a lot of stuff at the end. Which I feel like the early Dirty Harry movies were good at. Where it's like, these are action movies, but they're a little bit thinkier. Or the first Death Wish, before you get into the cartoons. All those things eventually devolved into cartoons. And I like cartoons. I like
canon.
Death Wish in particular, with the canon stuff, and then the Dirty Harry movies just lost some of their smarts as they went along. But I do feel like this has enough of the smarts with the crazy stuff that it really works. So, I couldn't believe this scene when it happened, when this cop shoots this kid who just steps out of an apartment building, and you're like,
and what's interesting is the introduction of this character when him and the younger partner were sitting in the park, you see him drinking out of a flask. And that's such a regular thing you see in these movies, and it's not a big deal. But that ends up playing an important part because he's drunk. That's why he shoots this shot like this. How old do you think this kid is? Like 15? Maybe?
Mid-teens. 14, 15. Ralph Foodie is the actor who plays what's his name, Craigie. He's great in this, and I'm really a piece of shit. I immediately recognized him from his voice from the Home Alone movies, right?
I thought that's what I assumed too, but I didn't want to look it up because I didn't want to look away from the screen, John.
It's him though. You filthy animal.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Yeah, that's him, man. In both
legendary.
of those. Yeah, very classic. The second he opened his mouth, I'm like, oh my God, that's the Home Alone guy.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Home Alone, 50 times.
Of course,
Yeah, it's a classic. But yeah, immediately he has that. And he's perfect for this as this piece of shit cop who, and the whole time, Chuck, because Chuck is, it's still a 1985 action movie. Chuck has no sharp edges as a character. He is
no character flaws.
No, and in the movie once again. But the thing, I'm grading on a curve here. The fact that the movie's talking about police corruption, but of course has, those are the bad cops. These are the very good cop. One incredibly perfect man on this force. Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, but it's still getting into the system allows for pieces of shit to get away with stuff.
Yes, because it's not just there's only good cops and there's only bad cops in the police force. There's people who are trying to stay neutral and who are allowing corrupt cops to commit crimes.
I mean, I thought
out of like an obligation.
I love the end of this movie. When he after he does everything, he's just looking at all the other cops who aren't doing anything evil per se, but stood by and let that, and were willing to let Chuck die and stuff. And he's just and he just has once again, it's a good use of Chuck being stoic. If Firewalker is a totally terrible vehicle for his personality, this is a perfect use of it. Where just with a look, he's like, I know what you fuckers are about, and I'll remember that.
Yeah.
And I love that, man. That's great. Like Chuck,
Yes.
this movie treats Chuck the correct way, which is he's a physical presence in the film.
Yes.
But
Yes.
let Farina have the funny lines as the partner, like that kind of thing. Because I love the whole runner with Farina always coming up with these like, okay, here's what we could do, man. Here's the business
pitches.
Yeah, let's, and I love that whole idea too, where it's like, here's a guy thinking about like, we're not gonna be cops forever, so let's get on something else. That's good. And that gives him a character. Like I said, Farina's not in the movie much, but Farina not only feels like a cop, he was always a good actor too, though.
Yeah.
And he's got personality. He feels like somebody. He's got a thing. He's got a life.
So Maggie and I always try to pick out which characters in the movie we are.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people like to do that,
sure.
but in this movie, Farina was basically the character who would have been me, because I love pitching stupid ideas for businesses.
Oh yes, I've been in some of those pitches.
I also want to say, independent of discussions we've had about Chuck Norris's on-screen charisma, because we've talked about it, he's not a good actor, but there is something there. And
he's got a presence that made him a movie star, right? Like
yes, and it's interesting because like the beginning of this movie, Maggie also made that connection. She's like, I don't know what it is. It's not necessarily his face, it's not his acting, but there is some kind of likability that he just exudes.
Yeah,
and there is a charisma. It's so weird and hard to explain.
It is,
but there is something there, and this movie so beautifully captures that.
It really does. Well, and I think that's what we're talking about is a kind of indefinable quality, because we see them try to build these other action stars, and you go like, that guy's not. That guy doesn't have
Steven Seagal doesn't have it.
He doesn't. He's he's just not. You don't want to follow him. I'm watching Chuck going, this guy is stiff as a board, yet I'm compelled to watch him. And I don't know what that is. The only term for that is some kind of star power, right? Like it is just, when it's always the thing. And we see it sometimes even where you go like, well, that guy was a good actor, but I don't want to, he can't carry a movie or something like that. There is that thing too, where you go like, I remember when, I think he's a really good actor, Taylor Kitsch, but they tried to turn him into an action hero with John Carter, with Battleship, like with that kind of run of movies, and everybody just kind of went, no. But now he's carved out a whole career as a really good character actor, and that's what he's good at. You just go like, yeah, and it's so interesting though, but it is all about they try to package people, right? You just go like, nah, it's a weird, inexplainable thing. And like I said, I just keep wishing people had found a way to package Chuck like this, because Cannon certainly presents him a certain way, but here it's sort of like, well, this movie kind of goes, what if he was a little bit, and we're talking about just a fraction deeper, Yes. let's not do too much.
Let's not do too much, but let's give him something to work with. There's a moment where you can see Chuck tearing up just a little bit, and it's when he's on the stand in the trial, and he's like, he's sticking up for what he believes in, but it is still difficult. Like he still understands that this is a complicated situation, and it makes him question. You can tell that he's questioning just the concept of police work in general, because of how fucked up it is. Like it's so. Well, I love just little lovely little nuggets there.
Well, I love this scene where when they after the guy's been shot, and Chuck doesn't actually see Chuck doesn't actually see them plant this gun on the guy, but he knows it.
He knows because that guy would have a history. And I like that Chuck never talks about him as being like this guy is being evil.
Right.
Every time he talks about it, he's just like, I mean, he's been on the force for a very long time, and
he just shouldn't be here anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's such an interesting nuance to look at it.
where it's like that guy is actively hindering this job at this point.
Yes.
And
yes.
it
and
is.
He's murdering innocent people.
Yeah.
And he's getting other cops injured, Well,
because I mean, the characters that's really interesting is that guy's partner, the young guy.
Yes.
And throughout the movie, there's so much of him going, I don't know. And then the scene when he testifies and agrees with the with Craigie's thing, and you're like, no.
Yeah.
Or when he calls Chuck to the bar and he's like, I got to tell you something, man. I don't know if I can live with this, man. I don't,
Yeah. Yeah.
Really good stuff.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a movie.
I know. It's like, it's all going. But like I said, the fact that it works on a dramatic level, we're not even talking about just like, but then also some stuff blows up.
Oh yeah. There's a great explosion in this movie.
There is.
Glorious.
And this movie also has the same basic tenets of it, but also has a better scene of Chuck entering when that door explodes. It's the same kind of shot as Hitman, but I'm going, oh, this is so much better. Coming in with that shotgun. By the way, Chuck with that shotgun was like the whole promotional material for this movie.
That makes sense. And I loved how nonsensical the shotgun use was. Like, nobody could one-hand a shotgun like that without any recoil.
The poster of this movie is just him holding the shotgun out with one hand. That's it.
Yes.
It is that Chuck Norris code of silence. Like, and you just.
But it's like, that's okay. I don't care if that's not realistic. It's great.
It is great, and that's the thing. This movie proves you can have that level of action and still kind of say something. Like,
Yes.
They aren't mutually exclusive things. Although all evidence to the contrary in pretty much every other movie we've watched. But
true.
I mean, because this isn't The Wire, but like I said, it's got just a little something to say.
Just enough. And even though it's not saying like a lot, it is what it is saying is interesting. So
it is
like what's there is at least nuance.
I applaud this movie a lot, and I applaud Chuck for doing it. I mean, Chuck is conservative kind of guy in this movie. I'm not gonna say this movie's like incredibly liberal, but it definitely asks questions of authority and asks questions about the morality of police work. And it's interesting. I think this movie would still play well. That's the thing.
I think so too.
You could still basically make the same movie today, and it could work. I mean, even the little cart thing, actually, the little like war battle wagon thing, would be a drone today, and we actually wouldn't question it at all anymore.
Yes, because we actually have those like little robot dogs that like patrol streets, which is terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. So. I also got to talk about Henry Silva in this movie, who's an actor I love, great character actor, legend of 70s crime movies, who plays Camacho, the sort of central villain here. He's not in the movie a ton, but he does have a great presence. I've always loved him. He's a great character actor. Like I said, he's not in the movie a ton, but when he's in it, he's similar to Chuck. There's just sort of a presence there.
Yeah. What other movies is he known for?
I mean, like A Million Things is kind of. Like I said, he was. He did a lot of Italian crime movies of the 70s. That's
vague.
Yeah. But he's in Manchurian Candidate and Silence of the Lambs, and he was the voice of Bane on Batman the Animated Series, actually.
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty awesome. Dick Tracy, awesome. He's the bad guy in Above the Law. Davis uses him again in his next movie. He was in like Cannonball Run and Sharky's Machine. So he was in some Burt Reynolds movies too. He's just a guy who was he was sort of a go-to bad guy in a lot of stuff.
I mean, he's a good bad guy. He's a good bad guy in this movie. So
he always had an interesting look and vibe to me that I found very interesting. And this is not asking a ton of him, but he just fits it. He just, it's easy in a good way in that he feels legitimate and he feels scary,
Yeah, he does. Like the violence in this movie, I mean, it varies.
Yeah.
There's a robot shooting rockets at people in towers, which made me laugh hysterically. But then there's also like families and children being gunned down in the streets.
And the fact that the movie is able to balance those kinds of violence is really, like I said, I got to put a lot of that on Davis. Like, I think they find this tone that even when it veers into the insane, you don't lose the central, like, stakes of it or whatever.
Right.
As weird and cartoonish as it gets, it never turns in fully into a cartoon. It's really interesting. But yeah, so because he's worried, Chuck is worried about this. Oh no, they're gonna find out about this, and this is gonna be tough. And I do love this. You get this confrontation between him and Silva here early, where it's like, oh yeah, man, I know you. We've run into. That's the other thing I like. There's so much history everybody has. It's him and the old cop.
Everybody knows Chuck Norris's character.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he and the old cop have a rivalry. He and Camacho have run up against each other before. There's
the henchmen. He knows their names.
Yeah, you know? Like that's the thing where it's like, oh man, that feels like, even though this isn't a Dirty Harry sequel, it does feel like this is a world that's that has that vibe to it, which I love. So. It's really good stuff.
That's kind of a really neat writing trick, making the world feel larger than the scope of the film.
Well, because once again, not to keep harping on, because it's not a terrible movie, but it's a very silly movie. Like The Hitman is just so. None of those people matter. Their lives, their relationships to each other. Everybody's just like Michael Parks shows up to be like, "Hello, I'm the bad guy."
Yeah, you don't get the sense that the world is larger than the scope of the film there. The film is just the film, and it's entertaining and silly, but like, there's no history, there's no world building there. It's just pure insanity.
So we get Chuck practicing his karate, which is good. That's a nice establishment, because of course it's not normal for a police detective to do martial arts, but here we're establishing that's his thing. But we also get this...
And it doesn't give the shorthand of like, Chuck Norris knows martial arts.
Right.
It's like, no, but he's a character here, so we need to establish that he knows martial arts.
Yeah, he's not playing Chuck Norris's movie, where it's like in Firewalker, you're like, I guess that guy is just a karate expert while he's also searching for treasure. Oh, sure. I mean, okay.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I'll accept it, but in terms of if you want to ground a movie in anything, here it is unusual for someone to whip out martial arts skills, especially once again, you don't often hear about the police detective they chased down a suspect, engaged in hand-to-hand combat with him for you don't hear a lot about that.
This cop beat up like 3 like goons in the street with knives.
Surrounded by a bar full of mobsters, he single-handedly managed to. You don't hear a lot about that in real life. That's probably okay. But so he's doing and there's a guy circulating. Because I love that the old cop is mad they're investigating the shooting at all.
Yeah.
They investigate all shootings are investigated regardless. It doesn't matter. There's no situation that they wouldn't look into a shooting. Period.
Of course.
Because that's good policy. Now that doesn't mean that always is done well, but just the idea that he's like, why are you even looking into it?
Yeah, because they don't want to. Because you root out one problem and then you realize there's some lax behavior here, in as far as like, because that looks bad on him. If somebody is going around shooting teenagers and planting weapons, that's not a good look for him.
Right.
So even if he's not directly committing those acts of violence, he's looking out for himself.
Yeah. There's a guy passing around a petition to not have this investigation go forward, and Chuck is the only cop who won't sign it.
Yep.
Which is great. I mean, once again, and this will stand up to this whole thing of Chuck Norris has got a lot of kind of a Jim Gordon from Batman thing here, the lone honest cop, which I always love. That's a great noir trope kind of thing where it's like, he's the one guy who won't take the bribe. He's the one guy who won't, and there's even a line later where they talk about, I'd bribe you, but I hear you're incorruptible, Cusack. His name is Eddie Cusack in this.
Eddie Cusack.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
And then we get to the introduction. Once again, they set up this little... What is this thing technically? It's like a mobile police
I don't know.
Vehicle.
And it's also not clear if it's it's remote controlled, but it can also
Yes.
behave autonomously, I guess.
I think that's the idea, because that's the concern that Chuck has about it. But oh boy, was I excited when it's John Mahoney that's showing this off. Which is people don't know Mahoney at this point. He is just a Chicago stage actor. Because this is not a part that, I mean, later, of course, everybody knows him as Frasier's father, but he's in Say Anything. I mean, a great legendary character actor. But I was like, wow, John Mahoney. And once again, a smart thing, though, having a Chicago director from Chicago, making a movie set in Chicago. He just goes, hey, that John Mahoney guy is great down at like Steppenwolf. Let's just get him to do this. And it's just one scene, but he's great.
It's somebody who's at least aware enough as to like the locals who would be a good fit.
Right.
So he doesn't have to fly people in, and he knows which theaters to go to look for talent.
Exactly. And it's somebody that the studio's not going to care who you cast in this part.
Exactly. Because this is a bit part, but he's making a point of filling even bit parts with good actors.
That's what people do. And The Fugitive, I mean, all of his movies are like that. That's one of the things that makes things like Under Siege and Above the Law work, where even though Seagal is terrible, of course, he's always surrounded in the Davis movies with great people. And The Fugitive has a great ensemble cast as well, too.
There is one actor in this movie who's not great.
Who was that?
And that is the guy who was working for the guy who was basically following around the girl, No,
I
don't necessarily think he's a bad. I don't know if he's a bad actor outside of this, but he feels very stiff in this movie. He kind of lumbers like a Sasquatch. So
he does, and luckily he's not in it too much. But yes, I don't disagree. But so you get this, and I do love this, and I wrote this down as a one-liner where Chuck talks, and this is also really interesting in today's world of both autonomous robotics and police and in military, where he says, another gun without a brain.
Yep.
Wow. Pretty good.
It's only more relevant now. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. That's where I was going. Like, I'm like, ooh, this stuff was kind of silly at the time, and now wouldn't be that weird to see in a movie at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, another gun without a brain. And we get this great scene, though, where Chuck pulls his gun out, right, on John, who's like, Jesus Christ. Drops the remote, and he's like, yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So they are following this guy. Well, so the big thing is, the plot of the movie is this guy Camacho is he wants to take out Tony Luna, who's the guy who ripped off his drug deal.
Yes.
And that's really the whole movie, and he's going to do it by getting to Luna's daughter, who's played by, I believe she's introduced here, Molly Hagan, who's a character actor who I've seen in many, many things.
Yeah. She seems pretty young in this movie.
Let's see.
She must be like early 20s or something. She seems very, very young.
This is her first movie. This is 85, and she would have been she's 24 here.
Okay, yeah.
You know what's interesting? She is currently a regular on the Walker Texas Ranger remake that's on right now.
Oh, that is interesting. Huh.
Yeah, because there is a new Walker that's on right now on the CW.
With or without Chuck?
Without Chuck, which is why I don't watch.
Interesting.
Yeah, no Chuck, no interest for me.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where it's like, why make it Walker?
Yeah, just make it something else, kind of vaguely similar. Because be inspired by Walker.
It's one of the guys from Supernatural, and he's Walker now, and I'm going like, meh. He doesn't even kick anybody. He doesn't have martial arts skills because he's not a martial artist. So then it's just like, then he's just a Texas cop. He doesn't have anything to do with Walker.
Wait, which of the super? It's one of the two brothers.
Yeah, Jared Padalecki.
Of the two, he is the weaker actor. I will say.
Correct. The other one is on The Boys, and he's fucking great on there.
Yes, Jensen Ackles is a legitimately good actor.
Yeah. I like him a lot. Yeah, Jared Padalecki though just went right back into CW territory, and he's doing Walker.
he found what works and he's sticking with it, and that's fine.
But it's interesting. I think she plays Walker's mother on there, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, gotcha.
At least her character is also named Walker, and that would the ages would work out there.
Can I just say how grateful I am that this movie wasn't creepy about this girl?
No,
like,
and also
the fact that Chuck never came on to her at all.
No
he's
romance.
So much older than her. But if this was a canon movie, he would have.
And there would have been a sex scene we would have had to see. There is, This movie has nothing like that in it.
It's so refreshing. Holy shit! I'm so glad he just was able to be a protective person and like almost like a parental figure, as opposed to.
It further works with his character, who's a pro. He's a professional. He's a good cop who wouldn't do that. Like it wouldn't. Yeah. It's. I mean, the closest we get is at the end of the movie. Yeah, he kisses her on the forehead once again in this father sort of way, where he's like he just wants
very
to be
parental.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's great. But she's. Is she a teacher? Because she's taking this group of kids
to a daycare or something.
Yeah, she's taking a group of kids to the zoo here, and this is where they first get these guys going. Hey, where's your old man? You get a lot of good Chicago goons in this movie.
Yeah. A couple of gabagools coming up here.
Come here.
Hey,
come here, man.
I want to show you something.
Yeah, we get a lot of guys who will be like, man, in 10 years when they're casting The Sopranos, then I'll really get, That's what I loved about The Sopranos. It was like everyone on that show is like, oh, I've seen all of you play mob goons in other movies, and now you're all the main characters of a show.
Excellent.
I was just looking at a straight-to-video action movie for us to maybe do in the future that is a bunch of Sopranos guys. That's basically like an action shelf movie starring these guys.
Great. Yeah, that sounds great.
Just a lot of guys going, the fuck you looking at? I love it, man. I love it. Yeah. So, yeah, you get these guys. And then when Chuck eventually approaches her, she's similar. Is like, I told everybody I don't know anything. God damn it. And this is in an art museum now. I do like the scene where Chuck goes into the back of this art museum and this guy is doing coke.
So fucking funny. It's so funny.
It's legitimately funny.
Yes. And his one-liner at the end of this scene is legitimately funny.
When
and
he walks
delivers
up to the guy,
it well.
And I wrote this down. He walked because the guys are doing coke and they're pretentious art snob people, right? And they're doing cocaine.
Yes.
Which also very much a 1985 thing, like the idea that that's like the high society drug. It still kind of is, but the idea that, especially in this time, it was like kind of cool to be doing cocaine. I feel like now it's more like, dude, maybe don't. I think we're aware of how fucking dangerous it is now. Not that people don't do it, but maybe people are less out in the open than they were in 1985.
The sheen is gone a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that, like, I'm a rich guy, I drive a Ferrari, I do cocaine,
Right.
Now it's a little bit like, I think people are like, you kind of have a problem maybe then. But he's doing that, and they pay no attention to Chuck until he goes over the phone and he goes, yeah, this is Sergeant Cusack down at the thing. And then they're like, this guy trying to... And then, he walks right up to the guy. And he goes, catch you later.
It's so good. It's
so
very funny.
Good. It's very funny. Like, he gets right in his face like he's going to say it, and he just goes, catch you later.
Yeah, it's a legitimately great one-liner. And we talk a lot about how Chuck's not really the one-liner type of action hero.
And he's not. But this is the kind of one-liner he can do where it's the way Batman is funny in a comic.
Yes.
Like,
exactly.
where it's like he's not telling a joke. It is his stoicism in contrast to the situation that is funny.
Yes.
And that is how you make... Because, once again, Firewalker, we saw them try to turn him into a wisecracker, and you're like, no, he's just not that guy.
It didn't work.
That's not Chuck's fault. That's just not something he can... Not everybody can do that.
Right.
And we were talking about Van Damme isn't really a particularly great one-line deliverer. That's not his thing, That's Stallone and Schwarzenegger and Eastwood. Those guys are good at that. Because I do feel like in the Dirty Harry version of this, there probably were more one-liners. Because Dirty Harry did quip a lot in those movies.
He did. But Clint's really good at that kind of stuff.
Clint is good. Well, because Clint does have... I'm not saying Chuck doesn't have a sense of humor, but Clint does have more of a wry kind of like Yeah.
He's also more of an actor, so
Well, and that is the thing. Yeah, Clint Eastwood's an actual actor.
Yeah,
he's actually a really good actor. I feel like sometimes people forget about that because he's such an icon. Love this scene where Chuck goes to the mob boss's yacht and he just throws this guy off the yacht.
And then kicks him as he's climbing back up.
Yeah. So he goes in, he tosses the guy off, he talks to the mob boss. Then when he comes out, just as the guy is getting back up on the boat, he kicks him back into the water. Oh, that's so gold, man. And you know what I love is this is all stuff like the only times you see Chuck use violence like that is like, I guess it's police brutality, but these guys are all like total scumbags.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And it's and actually that feels like that Dirty Harry thing, right? Where it's just like, I don't have any fucking respect for you organized crime shits.
And really all he's doing is throwing him off of like the guy's fine.
He never really commits any brutality per se,
Yeah, exactly.
No, he responds in kind to stuff. This guy put his hands on Chuck, so he just chucks him in the water. It's great. I love it. And when he says something like, the mob boss says to him is like, "Are you threatening me, Cusack?" He goes, "It's not a threat. It's a prediction."
Which is in response to what the mob boss says, because he's talking about, it's 1985, talking about the internet being like, this is a 20th century crystal ball we got here. And he's like, you're not trying to bribe me with like stock, tips. It's like, not a bribe, it's a prediction.
Yeah, and then that's right. Yeah, it's not a threat, it's a prediction.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's this great one-liner.
But then you talk about this next scene is brutal because they go to Luna's house and just slaughter his family.
Yeah, like I was unprepared for this scene. Like I was legitimately shocked by it
because it's his wife and mother, I think, right?
Yeah.
And they open up this moving truck, and these guys with machine guns just open up. Then they kick into the door of the house and just shoot everybody inside. And
it's brutal.
It's brutal, and it's played as dark and serious. And when Chuck gets there, his reaction is properly somber. It's like something. I thought this during the scene. I'm like, we watch so many of these movies, and we see so much murder in these movies, but this is a rare one where I'm like, death is kind of has actual impact in this movie.
It does. It
actually matters.
You see it affect Chuck, and when the daughter finds out about it, like they really they slow down and give the movie time to like process like how fucked up that is and how like really tragic this character, like her circumstances are.
I mean, it's the same thing when we see the innocent kid get shot at the beginning too. It's like and later when you have Chuck's friend who's protecting the daughter and he gets killed and Chuck is affected by that. I'm going like, and not in an action way where it's like, I will avenge you. It is like, oh shit, people are dead.
Yeah,
this is a world of violence, and these villains are really fucking evil.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But they're not like, their villainy doesn't come from their ethnicity, which is really nice. They just happen to be, a Hispanic crime organization.
It never plays as that, and we never.
It didn't do the thing in Hitman where he starts throwing out Arabic slurs against Iranians.
Just the rivalry between two crime organizations, one that happens to be Italian, one that happens to be Hispanic. The Hispanic guys aren't any worse. They're all bad gangster people,
honestly, the movie doesn't even say that the police are any better than either.
No. In fact, that's the whole point of the movie, right? Is the police are just another.
They're all the same thing.
They all have this code of silence. They're all participating in the system. It is a movie that actually wrestles with how crime happens, like I once again I'm fucking shocked, man. This is not
a movie that's about Chuck Norris roundhouse kicking crime also has a nuanced take on the police. It's crazy.
So they figure out that of course they're gonna go try to kill the daughter, or at least grab her, right?
Or do something.
And this leads to this action scene on the L train in Chicago is awesome.
Yes.
Because it leads to this chase, and then the guy has got a knife to the daughter's throat, and they're on this train, and then Chuck ends up falling up onto the roof of the train, and this all looks amazing because it's all real, practical, and Chuck's on top of that train, man. We've talked before about Chuck was a guy who did a lot of his own stunts, and it showed.
The action beats are varied. They are interesting. There's a forward momentum to them, you know. There's an arc to them, which is very interesting. It's the movie's constantly outdoing itself. You know, it's like, oh, you thought that was cool. Wait till the next thing we fucking show you.
Really good. Like this is how you make an.
There's a car chase
movie.
in this movie that's great. Like there's a legitimately good car chase.
Yeah, and we don't see a lot of good car chases on this show.
No, I mean, those are hard to do.
So I want to point this out because I mean the thing that shocks me, of course, is the reviews for this movie. So I go to my favorite film critic of all time, Roger Ebert, and he gave this movie 3.5 out of 4 stars. And he opens it when he goes, "The ads for Code of Silence look schlocky, and Chuck Norris is still identified with a series of great zilch karate epics. But this is a heavy-duty thriller, a slick, energetic movie with good performances and a lot of genuine human interests."
Yeah.
He goes, it grabs you right at the start with a complicated triple cross, and then it develops into a stylish urban action picture with sensational stunts. How sensational? How about an unfaked fight on top of a speeding elevated train, ending when both fighters dive off the train into the Chicago River? And of course, Ebert was a Chicago critic.
That makes sense.
So this is his hometown. But yeah, it's all, they're really up there. And then when they leap off of this thing, it's cool. Now, of course, Davis will later give us the greatest jump into water probably in film history, which is The Fugitive.
Right.
But
this is pretty cool.
This is very cool. And then I like Chuck Singer question this guy, and then a boat just takes him out. Boy, that was good, man. That's what we want. Those are the kind of deaths we want in these acts. We're like, oh, shit.
I laughed so hard when that happened. I'm like, this movie is great.
Yeah, that I love. You're just like, oh, because you think they're going to continue the fight or something, or Chuck's going to pull him out and question him. Instead, the guy just gets splattered by a boat.
Yes,
and it's quick.
So he
and
is
over.
both simultaneously successful in saving the daughter.
Yeah,
but he fails in the sense that he doesn't get to question this person and figure out the motives.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm just gonna. The stunts are great, but not surprising. Chuck Norris is famous for the stunts he features in all his movies. What is surprising is the number of interesting characters in Code of Silence. The screenplay doesn't give us the usual cardboard cliches. There's a lot of human life here in a series of carefully crafted performances. For once, here's a thriller that realizes we have to care about the characters before we care about their adventure. I mean, Ebert's saying a lot of the same stuff we're saying, which is... And I went on YouTube and watched the Siskel and Ebert episode about this movie, and both of them were just going, I can't believe how much I like this. Kind of like we're just going, they're going, this is good.
This is really good. It's legitimately good filmmaking.
And I know they continued to be supporters of Andrew Davis because I remember them liking Under Siege and The Fugitive. Although I think they talked up Seagal. Now, we always have the reference of we know Seagal's a huge piece of shit. So, but he is not good in that movie. I don't care what people at the time were like, hey, this could be something, man. Like, we should. There's like we should watch Above the Law. I haven't seen it forever. Which is Seagal's first movie that Davis directed. And Davis talked about he was a lot different on Under Siege than he was on Above the Law when he had no star power.
I bet. Yeah.
No clout or anything. And so it was a huge change. But this scene is amazing. And then you get this, once again, silent Chuck scene when he comes up to the daughter and she's wrapped in the blanket and he just holds her hand because her family's dead. And it's good. It's just like, Chuck can be more than, he's still stoic, but he doesn't have to be a badass all the time, you know?
Yeah, there is a deeper level to his stoicism in these scenes. There's like a mournful, somber tone to
exactly. I feel like this is the first Chuck Norris character I've seen who seems to really care about other people. And he's once again, it's the thing about death matters, people matter. He's affected by this. He's upset about injustice and corruption. He's not just a guy going like, yeah, I'm here to fuck dudes. Like we were talking about in the Hitman last week. Once again, we're just going like, what does this guy want? What's motivating him?
Why is he both trying to basically raise this child, but also committing cold-blooded
That's what I mean.
murder?
This movie finds that balance that allows him to be a sensitive good guy and a badass hero.
Yes, yeah, and both they don't like cancel each other out. You know, they're not competing. You know, they complement each other in this movie.
Right. So then we go to all the cops are hanging out in this cop bar, and you get this funny beat of these two morons who go in to rob this cop bar, and immediately everyone pulls out a gun on them.
Yes. So the character who kept putting on sunglasses and like testing out his like cool look.
Yeah.
Maggie and I decided that she was the sunglasses guy. Because it's all about presentation.
It is.
Yeah. But yeah, these two were very funny. The other guy who had the toothpick, he looked familiar. Although I couldn't quite I
mean, there's I think a lot of these people continued acting or were character actors in some capacity. I don't know. I don't even know how to look up who that is.
I mean, we don't have to.
But that scene's pretty funny.
It is very funny.
I don't know how this line ages, but the guy's got a gun and he says, he goes, "What do you think you're John Wayne?" He goes, "I'll make you Jane Wayne unless you shut the fuck up," and puts a gun to his crotch.
Not the worst thing we've heard in one of these movies, but
it's
doesn't age super well.
It's not directly aimed at any community or anything, but it certainly is. Also, cops threatening to blow people's balls off. Not exactly
right.
Anyway, so Chuck finally comes to the bar because who is this guy who plays the?
That's true. The young cop.
I don't remember what his character's name was.
It was. Let's see here.
There's a lot of characters in this movie.
There is.
But is it Nick? Is that him?
Could be.
He would have been young at this time, so I think this is him.
Yeah.
He's also in The Fugitive.
Oh, well, there you go.
So and The Package. And so he's in a couple other Andrew Davis movies, and he also ends up in The Hero and the Terror, which is another Chuck Norris movie. But working character actor. I thought he was very good here, though. He calls him down there,
he was,
and he's really unsure what to do because he's going along. Everybody's telling him to go along, and we do see that all the guys at the cop bar, they don't love Chuck. Chuck doesn't hang out with the other cops,
Yeah. He is othered by them, because he's the goody two shoes.
Yeah, and Dennis Farina is his friend, but Dennis Farina kind of goes between, right? He's friends with Chuck, but he's one of these guys. I do love Farina with these two ladies. Hey. And he's the only guy who's going like
dental hygienist. She's very oral. Yeah. I'm like, oh boy.
Farina, man, Farina's great. Lisa, and this is him segueing into full-time acting. But yeah, he's just got he's got that vibe, and he just shows up and
isn't he in New Girl? He's
Nick's father in New Girl, exactly.
Yeah, he's great in that.
Dennis Farina, legitimately great actor. And weirdly started off, like I said, as a Chicago cop.
An actual cop. Yeah.
And Michael Mann befriended a lot of real cops and crooks when he was doing research for his movies, and started putting him in movies. And then Farina really took to it, and ended
up weird career trajectory
to go from like homicide cop to actor and big time actor. It says I wanted to see 18-year veteran of Chicago PD.
I thought Ken Jeong's path to acting was strange, but this might be a little weirder, honestly.
Yeah. He went army to police to Hollywood.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Once said in an interview, his nickname of the Chicago PD was the Great Wounder because he was a famously bad shot. and he shot 3 armed suspects during his time, but never killed any of them.
Well, that's good.
Actually, that's kind of the. I do always. It's better. That's a weird thing that fascinates me about police. If they fire their guns, they are instructed to kill, not to wound, because it's cruel to wound. You know what? I'd rather be shot in the leg by a cop than murdered.
So would I.
I think that's the thing. I'm going
I think I'd rather
you know
not
what? Maybe
die.
let's revisit that idea and maybe try to shoot people in the leg.
Yeah, something that can be recovered from.
Well, the idea, in concept, now I'm talking about this, but in concept, the idea is your gun should be your last resort. So if you pull it, you are looking to end someone's life.
Right, which is, of course, not how it's actually used, but I understand.
They have stupidly assumed people don't want to kill people.
Right.
Which apparently is...
Or in the case of, like, the beginning of this movie, when the teenager is shot, I think it's just, like...
They just pull.
You just pull. Like, it's cowardice. You know, it's like, I don't even want to, like, risk, like, my life here. So I'm just going to shoot first.
It's one of the biggest problems, which is just, like, don't... The idea of maybe they shouldn't have guns, but that's, this is getting into my crazy opinions, but anyway.
John, I don't think it's that crazy. I think there's a lot of people who agree with you. Yeah. It's at least a conversation that is happening and should happen.
Yep. Anyway, I do
again, we don't have the answers. We just ask questions here.
We're just guys who watch action movies. I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly.
We don't really know. If it's not talked about on Law and Order, I really don't understand it in the police work.
Right.
So, I do like this scene where he confronts this old cop here, and I thought this was a good one-liner where the guy goes, "Where do you get off?" And Chuck says, "Right about here."
Yeah.
Pretty good, man.
Pretty good. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite Chuck scenes in anything, man. That was good stuff.
And I like that. Well, I will say, admitting that the old cop killed that kid at the cop bar with the guy who did it.
Yeah.
Not a great look.
No.
Not very smart, but that's okay. I'm willing to set aside,
but of course,
that logic there.
When we get to the hearing, the young cop sticks with the story, and it's Chuck who goes, "Well, I didn't see it, but I know that guy, and he's a fucking embarrassment to the force. So I have no doubt in my mind what happened." And then, of course, everybody is outside this is good stuff, man. It's
so good. Yeah. And I love the sequence of, because he runs off because the girl who's staying with a friend of his, he keeps trying to call and he's not getting a hold of them. So he's like, something's up.
This is I think this is the best scene in this movie, is this scene where he's going there and no one will back him up.
So the dispatch is like, unit whatever 1496 or whatever, we have something. It's like, sorry, my radio's broken, or
there's a dead dog in the road, sorry. Or the one where he goes, we got a drug situation here, and it's just they're like having coffee and yucking it up.
Right. It's like the inverse of what we usually see in these movies, where usually it's like, he's a one-man army, and we fucking love that. It's like,
I work alone, buddy. That kind of thing, right? Whereas
but
here,
this is, I need backup. I am just one. I'm a fucking one-man army, but I am just one man.
Chuck doesn't want to be a one-man army. Eddie Cusack is not a guy who. That's why I do agree with Ebert about the promotion of this, and we read the tagline last week where it's like, the toughest cop in the world just got tougher, and you're like, it's not actually really that kind of movie.
No, or what was, because there's two taglines.
Yeah. The other one is Eddie Cusack's a good cop having a very bad day.
It just it's
and then
so
him with the
schlocky,
shotgun, and you're going like, oh, this is gonna be a movie where Chuck kills 100 guys, and that's what he calls police work. It's gonna be Cobra. This movie is pitching as
exactly.
I love Cobra, but Cobra's a fucking comic book. Like,
it is
Cobra is complete insane. Cobra is as realistic as RoboCop. Like that.
Yes.
It's that level.
There's very little difference other than prosthetics. There's very little difference between the two.
Right. It is. He might as well just be a superhero. Like, it's so insane. Here, though,
I like that Chuck does well, but it is evident that he can't do it alone necessarily.
Well, because the guy is killed, and so he goes to this bar where he knows the bad guys are, and he's like, I want to know where she is. And this is the one that's in the trailer too, because I did watch the trailer. And when the guy says something, he goes, I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you. And he goes up to this guy who's doing cocaine, and when Chuck is just slamming this guy's face into the mirror of cocaine, oh, that's fucking badass, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is good stuff right there.
Good stuff. And this is the guy who survived the initial, like the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
This guy is doing coke. Yeah, he was at the drug deal and he survived.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And Chuck just smashing his face into this mirror of cocaine. Because this is now Chuck's not fucking around anymore.
He's like, well, I have zero backup, so I'm just going to fucking do whatever I can.
Yeah, I don't think he would have been this brutal if he had other cops with him, but he's got no choice. He's got to come in with overwhelming force. This is another scene I love when he comes back into the bar and all the goons are there, and he pulls his piece, and he's just like, what, do you want it? Do you? Yeah. And you just go and
they're like circling him very carefully, you know? It's very
And
good.
it's only because a guy gets behind him.
Build the tension.
Yeah, the guy gets behind him and puts a gun to him. And then even still, Chuck manages to take out a bunch of these guys.
Oh, so many, yeah. But it's not enough because there's so many of them.
But you talk about, man, a front runner for best hand-to-hand fight that we've seen this year. This bar fight. And we've seen him battle other we saw a bar fight in Firewalker. We saw a bar fight in Hitman. But this one is so much better. And it is obviously, Chuck is still at the same level of martial arts skills, but this is so much better directed and so much better executed script-wise.
And I like that he can't beat all of them.
No, he
does a good job for a while, but that's still it's like 50 people against
and
one
somebody
person.
Gets him in the back of the head with a billiard ball too, which kind of stuns him, and then they're able to get all around him and grab him.
Yeah.
And then I
like that he's not invincible in this movie.
Yeah, he's not. No. And even at the end of the movie, he's only able to do it because he has to use that crazy vehicle thing because he's got no backup, and he doesn't just come in and shoot everybody on his own. He needs to be blowing that thing up. And then Farina does show up here. He's the only guy who eventually gets word that he's there. And when he comes in, Chuck is all fucked up and bloodied, and it's this is good stuff, man. It's
kind of because then Farina gives him a clue, right, or something.
Farina finds him. Oh, he tells him that the guy is coming back in town. They know where he's gonna be because that's gonna set up this car chase.
And
because Luna had left town and now he's coming back into town on the train.
Yes. And this moment where Chuck is like, all right, I'm getting up. I'm going to do this. It feels very like season 1 Daredevil to me.
Very much so. Yeah. Where it is like, I am bloodied and beaten, but somebody's got to handle this. And we should mention, I don't think we mentioned Farina got shot in the leg at the beginning of the movie, which is why his partner has not been able to back him up. Farina's off, on disability at this point. So,
and the young cop has been patrolling with Chuck.
Yes.
I don't like at the beginning of the movie. There's like, he's going with you for now. He's like, I don't want to fucking babysit this kid or whatever.
And that kid is talking about where it's like, I know it's wrong, but I don't want everybody to hate me like they hate you, And oh man, that is, that's a thing cops have to deal with.
And it's not just that. He's just like, I have a wife and kids.
Yeah.
Like
they'll kill me, man. Like they'll throw me off the force. I mean, you're getting into like Serpico kind of stuff here.
Yeah.
Which is one of, if not the best movie about police corruption, and of course a true story. And guess what? They tried to fucking kill that guy in real life.
Yeah.
Frank Serpico got shot in the face and survived, but they tried to murder him because he wasn't joining their corruption. That story is nuts and one of the Pacino's best. So Chuck is going out there, man, and this car chase is so well done. And it's not an over the top car chase. It's just a really solid. I love the way it builds because he's just pursuing them, and then they realize he's there. And the speeding up of this, because the Camacho's guys get Luna at the train station. Chuck isn't able to get to him, so he's following them in his car. And this is a great car chase. And Chicago's a great car chase city because I also think of how well Nolan uses it in The Dark Knight for that truck chase.
Yeah. Yes.
Nolan also a Chicago guy. Chicago,
Makes sense.
and Chicago has such a history of crime and stuff like that it does always have that vibe to me that I like about it. And of course, we'll at some point we'll do a commentary on The Untouchables, one of the great Chicago crime movies.
And it has such a great history for theater as well. So like acting is such a vital part of like the economy there,
I do
which
always
is great.
like when you see so many New York and LA movies or even Miami, the Chicago always feels more interesting to me just because I don't see it as much. And particularly when it shows up in these kind of crime movies, I just love this whole sequence. And then eventually it's Luna gets the gun the guy's holding on him, and they shoot the driver, which causes the car to do a flip up in the air.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
But then they all die.
I did think during this and then later, I was like, man, this movie's good, and it checks every action shelf box, right? It's got a car flipping, it's got a rocket launcher, it's got, a guy one-handing a shotgun. We love shotguns on this show too.
We've talked about how the shotgun might be the most cinematic weapon.
Yeah, because it requires constant mechanism work. Like the of a shotgun is always adding excitement, even if somebody's not shooting.
Exactly, and this adds the element of you see like every time he reloads, you can see the shell fly out.
Yeah,
and there's like smoke trailing from it, and it's very cinematic.
There's it does cool. A lot of stuff. There's lots of things moving on it and stuff like that, and also. At least as portrayed in movies, it makes guys fly back when they get shot with it. You can really
makes them fly back. It's got a weird range. Like the range of this shotgun is not realistic at all.
It's a long gun, but it's a close range gun at the same time.
Exactly.
If
the gunfight at the end of the movie, the shotgun is not what you want if you're going around taking off goons. You want an assault rifle, probably.
But he doesn't have that. He's got a shotgun, and so it's cool, man. It's not him dual wielding Uzis in Invasion USA.
That's true.
Which is a fucking insane movie. Or when he's from the hip shooting that rocket launcher. Here he takes aim he uses a rocket launcher properly in this movie.
Yes.
Although still in like an urban setting, which is insane.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So he eventually finds out where the girl is being held, which of course is an old abandoned warehouse because it has to be in an action movie, right?
Of course.
And they get a report that he's stolen the weapons truck of the Chicago. I love this where it's like, Sergeant Cusack just took our entire weapons supply truck.
Now he is a one-man army.
Yeah, well,
somebody says.
But I guess he is a one-man army. But I do like that once again, and it's completely outside their own reality. But the movie is a smart enough script. It kind of makes you believe that he would be pushed to do this.
This is not his first choice.
Yeah,
this is when he's back. This is him backed up against the wall.
Now,
he's backed up into a corner.
I have to imagine this stuff stems from the Dirty Harry version of this because. Particularly those sequels were all about what weapon will Harry wield at the end of the movie, right? And it's all about when you get to the rocket launcher and the enforcer, or he's got the Magnum automatic in Sudden Impact, or my favorite, the fucking harpoon gun in Deadpool. You want to talk about a great entrance when Clint comes out of the smoke holding that giant harpoon gun in Deadpool. You're like, oh yes, but. It's also like you're like this is as far away from that first movie as you can get, man.
Sure is.
You're in. That's not a canon movie, but that is canon territory. That Deadpool movie.
Is, yeah.
That's also the one where somebody throws a Molotov cocktail into his car while he's driving, and he catches it and throws it back at them.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Because there's a running subplot that doesn't even have anything to do with the main mystery where the mob just wants to kill Harry, and it's just an excuse to have every 20 minutes a big action scene break out.
Yes.
So Chuck shows up here. We see him getting ready. We see him loading stuff, and you see him maneuvering. I do like that, of course, he would have figured out how this thing works. I also love that they're
The robot?
Yeah, but I also like that this is still their demo robot because it says that, and of course that thing would be loaded with live armaments, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, they did say in the first scene, even a child can operate it.
Okay, good screenwriting then.
Yes,
I
which
thought more
I thought was good screenwriting, but also kind of a subtle dig against the police.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that
even
is
you
kind of
dum-dums can operate this.
Well, and I think
RC
that's
car of
even
death.
how it's meant to be, right? Which is just like, here's a lazy thing so you don't have to do any real police work. It's Chuck's thing about it's just a gun without a brain. How is that going to help anybody? Chuck actually seems like, and I think doesn't he have a line somewhere in there where he goes like, it's our job to protect people. We're not here to shoot people. And you're like, man, that is so prescient. It's sad that that's still, it's even more the case now. Well, it was happening then. We just didn't talk about it, actually.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's the thing.
The conversation
It's like cop shooting people is not a new thing at all.
Nope. We just can record it now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, love him blowing the sniper out of the tower with the rocket off of this thing.
It's so good.
That is a chef's kiss, my friend, right there. That is.
I watched it 3 times. I had to back up and watch it 3 times.
So great because this guy's flaming body goes flying out of this tower, and you're like,
into the river.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
What that's what I like about the structure of this movie, though. It's like, you know what? We've been serious. We've been grounded. You're invested in this, and now we're gonna go crazy in the third act. You know, they've earned it. Where it's like, yeah, man, you've set up the fireworks very effectively.
Yes.
But okay, here's the Roger Ebert. By the end of the film, when he's reduced to functioning as a one-man army, we can't really believe the armored robot tank that he brings into action. But what the hell? We accept it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's silly. It's nonsensical in a way. I mean, again, because there are actual autonomous
now there are, but I still don't know that.
But like at the time,
I still don't know that police have ones that roll around with rocket launchers on the side of them. Like,
exactly. That is absurd. Yes.
Yeah. Let's see so he does that. Then he pulls out the rocket launcher and blows open the door to this warehouse. And everybody, they're all just like, what the fuck is going on here, man? Everything's exploding around them. And yeah, here comes Chuck in the big burning hole of the thing with his shotgun. And I do like,
and
they all have
controller for the thing.
Yeah, they're all standing there like, oh, like there is a second where, and I think it's Silva goes, what are you doing? Kill him. What are you doing?
Well, you gotta take in the moment, you gotta stop and appreciate.
He just starts blowing these guys away, and then also the little truck thing comes in and starts machine gunning people.
Well, this starts with, so he enters, and then somebody's coming up on his right, and that's when he one hands straight out with a shotgun and blows this guy away.
Makes no sense, but it looks cool as fuck. Yeah, that's the thing, and that's what it is, man. That's a screenwriting lesson. We will accept this shit if you've made us love the characters and stuff, and so you are going like, "Fuck yes,
get him."
They've earned it, man, and Chuck's like, well, I guess if I have to single-handedly kill the entire mob, then so be it. And he is just blowing dudes away. This truck is machine gunning guys. There's a nice moment in here, though, where he's taking cover and he's loading up the shotgun again, and he just locks eyes with the daughter who's tied up. And there's no dialogue exchange. There's no even, but it's just kind of a like,
just recognition.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome. And then he ends up, so then we get the showdown with Silva, which is from a distance. So Chuck can snipe a guy with a revolver.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I mean, this is a thing where it's like, this is not the most spectacular death of the bad guy, but it is the most dramatic, like weighty death for him.
Yeah, because Silva's going after the daughter.
It is sort of like
pickaxe or something.
Yeah, I do like this is a very good action movie bad guy thing where it's like, well, my organization is dead, everything is falling apart, but I'm just gonna, with what I have left, kill this woman.
Yeah. Very cinematic for sure.
Chuck taking it. This is very Lethal Weapon. We'll do this later with Danny Glover, where it's like he's got to take it. Although I think he's still one-handing it, which is insane.
He is.
I think he's still just aiming one-handed, and he shoots him. But of course, he's not dead from that. He's still crawling now towards the thing.
There's like it's like a horror movie reveal where his eye opens and then he starts looking in a crazed way, and he starts like crawling and lumbering up to her with a hammer.
Henry Silva was always good at this shit of just being like, I am creepy and terrifying. I'm coming for you. And Chuck, now we get the slow motion kaboom, and the guy's chest explodes, and good squib work here.
Yeah.
And he is down for the count, man. And it is sweet. And then we get when everybody else finally arrives, and Chuck carrying the woman out of the smoking rubble of the place. Like I said, at this point, I'm like, you've earned it, movie. Let him be the action hero now. Let him be the Superman who's carrying this woman out. And just the look of all the other cops going like, jeez, man, that was pretty wild stuff there. I don't know. Yeah.
Some weather we're having.
Yeah, this is what are we doing? Yeah.
Is that there's the rocket launching robot. Cool. Cool. All right.
Yeah. And I do like the captain going like, "Hey, Cusack, you coming in tomorrow?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll be back." Yeah. You take the rest of the day off, Cusack. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. See you in the morning, bright and early.
Yeah, and everybody's just like, I guess we shouldn't have been so mean to that guy. That guy was pretty awesome. Like, he's sort of an unstoppable one-man army. But this is the most
unless
justified.
you want to incur his wrath, we probably should be good cops now. So.
Yeah. Anyway, and I think we get another Farina, business pitch here, and he's like, I'll think about it or whatever, And that's Code of Silence. That's the man.
Yeah.
What a satisfying experience.
It was great all the way through. It was never not good. It was truly a pleasure to watch. So if you have HBO Max, I highly recommend watching this movie.
Which we rarely do, but this one really earns the recommend here. This is a great action movie. Man, this is exactly what I want to see when I'm watching something from the 80s,
Yes. And Maggie put it really well. She's like, this is the Chuck Norris that the early 2000s internet was like raving about, like the early 2000s was thinking about Chuck Norris in this movie, like 100%. Just being an unstoppable, awesome badass.
Yep. This is it, man. It's the best use of it. They really, yeah. Because Chuck Norris, I mean, that's the thing where it's like we're talking about. Chuck Norris is going to be Chuck Norris. It really is about how you use him. And, man, I just love this movie. This is one I'll definitely revisit,
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah, definitely.
So, Codis, I think we're both in agreement on the best death is that guy getting shot out of the tower, right?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
I feel like everything is... But what's our favorite one-liner here? We've got a few.
A few good options.
Yeah.
Like, we actually have a great selection of one-liners here.
So when they're introducing the mobile robot tank, Chuck says, another gun without a brain. When he confronts the guy who's doing cocaine, he says, catch you later. When he's talking to the guy on the yacht with the stock predictions, he says, it's not a threat, it's a prediction. When he confronts the old piece of shit cop in the bar, the guy asks, where do you get off? And Chuck says, right about here.
Yeah.
And then finally, when he walks into the bar and one of the mobsters says something to him, he says, I want your opinion. I'll beat it out of you.
Yeah. Great one-liners.
Those are tough, man.
I think Catch You Later is my favorite.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because there's a couple of layers to it, which is nice, and it's delivered really well.
It is. It's a I want to recognize that just because Chuck really nails that delivery, and he isn't always good at that. So maybe that is good. Let's go with that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
Well, listen, as you know, it's always my job to find the strangest IMDb reviews I can. And, of course, we agree with the opinions this is a good movie. But here's just a weird way of stating that.
Okay.
This comes to us from C. Brano, IMDb user. And the review is titled, Mr. Norris Visits the World of Dirty Harry Profitably. I love any review that starts with, gee whiz. Gee whiz, a martial arts actor can't get no respect. Is it because he visits Dirty Harry territory? Is it because he tries to bend and twist the genre a little? I think Mr. Norris outdid Steven Seagal before Seagal movies even happened. Good for you, Mr. Norris. Now, the profile for criminals tends to be short, fat, ugly, stupid, separately or in combination. So why not hold up a cop's bar? 10 out of 10 stars. Very simple.
Wow, what a weird review. So good.
Very strange review. Now, of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't check in with our old pal Bruce Winning, who shared his thoughts with this movie with us. And it's time again for everyone's favorite segment, the Winning Opinion. Here's Bruce Winning's review of Code of Silence. It is titled, Chuck Norris Does Karate Very Well. I appreciate that this was formatted for my television, thanks to the 16:9. I really like the punching and kicking. I like the shooting. There is plenty. The explosions really add to the dramatic effect. I generally like to watch a crime drama with Chuck Norris. 5 out of 5 stars.
I disagree with no points there.
No, Bruce is right on the money this week.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I did. Yeah, there you go. It worked for Bruce, as it should.
As it should.
I mean, he is. I would say he is much more generous with his reviews than we normally are. But this week, yeah, Chuck. Indeed, sir, Chuck Norris does do karate very well.
Yes.
Now, this didn't turn into a Dirty Harry type franchise, but what say we try to bring Eddie Cusack back in another adventure by using our handy dandy action movie title generator, and we're gonna fire this up and come up with. So we had Code of Silence. Let's see here. Now we have Justice in Time, not just in time. Justice in Time.
Okay, so there's a ticking clock in this movie.
Just what I was going to say. No, that's just what I was going to say was, it's got to be a ticking clock thing. So let's see.
Yes.
Is it another mob thing? Is it a thing where it's like someone's going to go on trial or something? Or is it a bomber movie?
We should have it be a bomber. Let's separate it from the first movie.
And why not? Let's say Andrew Davis is back, and this time he's bringing his pal Tommy Lee Jones as our Mad Bomber.
Let's do it. Yes, as the villain. Yes.
That's right. Chicago's going to pay for what they've done. Politician Chicago. Ooh, maybe that's the thing where it's like he's a vigilante, and even though Chuck agrees that the people he's blowing up are corrupt, you can't go around blowing people up. So maybe he's blowing up corrupt politicians and stuff like that. That gives us an opening where you have like a corrupt judge taking a bribe, and then he gets in his limo and it explodes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, this is great.
Yeah.
This is. I want to see this.
Yeah.
I'm sad it never happened.
Farina's back as his partner this time, not injured, so he's in the movie more, which is good stuff.
It's in Chicago again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Chicago. So it's in Chicago, and he's we make Tommy Lee Jones sort of a Zodiac where he's releasing statements to the press and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly.
The corrupt leaders of Chicago, they're gonna think twice before they do something again. Yeah.
I want to hear Tommy Lee Jones' voice and vocal cadence like scrambled. You know, like
come
that's
on, Mario.
Voice scrambled.
I don't even. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't do the impression of what it sounds like. But
it's tough.
It's gonna be good.
But just think, and at a certain point, he is like, "You and I want the same thing. We want to clean up this town."
Exactly.
Come on, man. You got to be on my side. And then it ends with these two in hand-to-hand combat, of course.
Of course. Yes. 100%.
And that would be
in
even
a better knife fight. than the one at the end of Under Siege.
Which is pretty great, mostly because of Tommy Lee Jones.
Exactly.
Tommy Lee Jones
but
is
this one will
handling.
have Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
So it'll be even better.
And this is happening like in Chicago City Hall because he's going to blow up the mayor.
Yep.
So we also get Chuck defusing bombs too, which is a good thing. Yeah. Red or blue wire. Yeah, this could really work, man. I like this idea.
It should.
I wish they had made this movie.
Great.
So that's Justice in Time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Listman, we phase out of Norris November.
I don't want to see it go, John.
I don't want to see it go. Don't worry. There's still plenty of Norris ahead on this show for us. But tis the holiday season, my friend. So
holiday season.
And so what does that mean? We're going to be watching a whole month of Christmas action movies.
Can't wait.
Yeah, right. And so where else do we start but with Dean Cain, obviously, right?
Yeah, it worked so well last time we watched
the very well titled Christmas Rush. This is Dean Cain and Eric Roberts. Come on, man. Does it get any better than that? I believe the pitch for this movie is that it's Die Hard in a shopping mall.
Great. And does Dean Cain the mall Santa?
I wish. No. He's a cop.
Boo.
He's just a cop in the mall with his wife, and then it gets taken over by Eric Roberts and his gang of thieves.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I was. Would you like the tagline once again with the caveat? It is incredibly lame.
Yeah, sure.
So the movie's called Christmas Rush,
and
the tagline is "The Christmas Rush has just begun."
Yeah, it's pretty lame.
That's pretty lame. We're going to have a guest with us. Our good pal Brendan Jones will be ringing in the holiday season with us next week and talking about it.
I hope this movie's good. Brendan has had a really rough track record on this podcast. So.
He has. But being the Superman aficionado he is, I had to get him in a Dean Cain episode. So
that's true.
And we love Eric Roberts. And I love that Eric Roberts is, what's his character's name here? Because he's credited as it. Because it says, and Eric Roberts as Scalzetti.
What a great name.
Of course, his bad guy's name is Scalzetti.
Scalzetti.
That's right, Dean Cain. I did see an article the other day, this will be a tease for next week, that he did just surpass, was it his 600th film credit? Something
Eric Roberts?
Eric Roberts, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they did a profile about him, I think in People magazine or something like that, talking about how he just made his 600th film. Or
does he have a problem? Like, is there some sort of psychological addiction to being in these shitty action movies? Or what is it?
Sorry. I'm sorry. I misrepresented. He hasn't been in 600 screen credits. He's been in 700. He just passed his 700th screen credit. Yeah, that's right. And he has currently more than 60 projects in the works.
60?
60. Yep.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Is wrong with this man? Like where
yeah.
When does he sleep? When does he eat?
Last year alone, he starred in 33 films.
That's crazy. That is a crazy number.
And I think this is a theory that came from the We Hate Movies podcast. Mm-hmm. He is a man who just never doesn't want to be on a film set. He wants to spend every day of his life on a film set. I really think that's what it is.
It's compulsive.
Because we've talked about the fact that he can be in good stuff and terrible stuff, low budget stuff, high budget stuff, TV, film, whatever. I think it really is just anything that is offered to him, he'll do it.
He will do.
I'm pretty sure we could get him in our movie.
I have no doubt. Offered him a role, he would probably.
I think if we met his quote, whatever that is, I can't imagine it's like
an Arby's coupon.
He'd be in it because I just think, we talk about Trejo, but Roberts has got Trejo beat by a lot. He does not.
That's crazy.
Believe it or not, though, he does not have the record on IMDb. That belongs to Indian star Brahmanandam. Who has 1,170 credits.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot of,
yeah.
Like, it's not even close. Holy shit.
Yeah. Give him time, man. I mean, he's got 66 projects in the works, so.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the guy's making 33 movies in a year.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good
We've
Lord.
seen him in stuff. A lot of this stuff he's probably working a day on, you know.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But I do love, there's just a quote from it that says, "Oh, I'd love to have my real life sister Julia star in one of these movies with me." And I'm like, keep wishing.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah. It's like, of course you would. She's a major movie star.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have a great relationship, but they don't appear in the same kind of stuff. So,
nope.
Yeah. So anyway, that we'll talk about Eric Roberts and his insane career next week on the show as he faces off with Dean Cain, and Under Siege's Erica Eleniak is playing Dean Cain's wife in it.
Gotcha.
So there you go. So there's some B-movie cred for you. That'll be next week on the show, but that's going to do it for this week's episode of The Action Shelf. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Michael Listman.
Till next week, get yourself some action.
The Action Shelf. The Action Shelf.